Okay, here we go. Week 4, the power of context. This is a great week. I think it's really interesting, valuable information. We talk a lot about Erwin Panofsky and his ideas of iconography, his 3 levels of discerning meaning in a work of art, and I think this is really valuable to you. We did formal analysis last week, and now we're going to move more into that contextual meaning this week. Speaking of your formal analysis papers, be looking for those by Friday. I've already graded your Artist of the Week questions from last week as well as your quizzes. So those should be in there for you to view. You should always be able to view quizzes. I made sure I adjusted the settings because I think a few of the first weeks were not set up the way I want them to be, where you will be able to see your quiz score right away, but you won't be able to go back and actually view the quiz and what you got wrong and right until it is past the due date. So if you do your quiz on Friday, you won't actually be able to go in until Monday morning and take a look and see what's going on there. And that's just to protect against, if there's any kind of cheating or anything that is actually possible otherwise. Okay, so week 4, you are going to be having lots of lecture and reading material this week. So in our text, chapters 5 and 6, themes in art and art in and out of context. I'm sure you found that this text is a pretty easy read at this point. Our lecture, of course, this week is titled The Power of Context. So here's the YouTube video for you here, lecture slides here. You should be pretty used to how this works. Look, short list of vocabulary this week. Our weeks of long lists of vocabulary, I believe, are over at this point. There may be a few that are a little bit longer than this, but nothing like from weeks 2 and 3. I know that was a lot of information, and you guys have handled it really well based on the quiz scores from this last week, which were very high. So I'm very happy about that. So make sure that you go ahead and check out any of the links that are there in the lecture slides as well. Okay, our art of the week this week. It's not any questions that you have to turn in. This is simply enrichment. It's on Leonardo da Vinci, and you can view this clip on him here. And then have fun exploring these websites to learn about the iconic Renaissance master. So there's one from National Geographic. There's a really interesting documentary that is on Netflix, actually, called Mona Lisa is Missing. And just some more ideas here. So if you do go ahead and take the time to engage with this material, I'd like you to consider how Da Vinci has left a lasting legacy on not just the world of art, but the world of science as well. So again, there are no questions for the Artist of the Week this week. It is purely enrichment material. Okay, your reflection this week is a discussion board. So make sure that you've viewed your lecture. And what I've done is I've split up. I have a separate lecture that is purely on Panofsky, which all of this is covered in this lecture as well. I've just given it to you here if you would like to review this information or just hear it in a slightly different way. So you can go ahead and view this if you would like, but just know that this is basically information that is repeated from this lecture, okay? So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed like there's just loads and loads of lecture material this week. So what I'd like you to do after this, because we're going to learn how to walk through the primary, conventional, and intrinsic levels of Panofsky, or the natural, conventional, and intrinsic levels, or primary, secondary, and tertiary. And you're going to select a work of art of your choice from the Met Museum's website. If you follow this link, it's going to take you to the Met Museum, which there's a great, look, 447,000 plus records here of artwork that you can browse through. You can look by geographic location, date and era. Department would be, for example, kind of thematic, arms and armor. It's going to have everything from Greek and Roman art to photographs, musical instruments. So you can really take your time browsing through that. Be sure to select a work that you can find ample research on. So don't pick an obscure artist that has little information. This is an exercise after all. This isn't about being super original and finding something very quirky and strange and abstract, or it can be abstract or obscure, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Include the image of your work with proper citations in your entry here. So we've learned how to do that. I want the artist's name, the title in italics, the year it was created, the medium, and the source. And the source is the web address where you found it. But once you view this lecture material, you will understand why it's important for you to find something that you can really easily find research on. So it's okay to go for the big guns here, for the Impressionists, for the Renaissance artists, for these kind of big name artists that we know that we'll be able to find a lot of information on, because again, this is an exercise. So we're going to analyze the artwork using Panofsky's 3 levels of interpretation, and be sure to subtitle each of these levels. So in that natural level, and this will all make sense once you view the lecture material, keep your natural level very simple. Describe the scene without using any cultural knowledge. You can include elements of design here. In that conventional level, you're going to use your own cultural understanding to analyze the work before you do any outside research. So what might this mean to you as you understand it in kind of your vacuum of the world, your little corner of the world? In the intrinsic level, I want you to include at least one research source here. This level is about looking outside the picture frame after all. So be sure you properly cite this source as a footnote at the end of your entry, and then go ahead and take a look at your peers' posts and enjoy exploring these. So this, I said it was a discussion board. This is actually done as a blog. So you're going to do this as a blog post, and then you can go ahead and interact with your peers here. So this is a good exercise. This is students have found Panofsky extremely helpful in kind of understanding how we can break down a work of art into these little pieces and then build these layers of meaning on top of it, and how we can look at it from multiple perspectives, and that they're all valid, but that they can all be quite different as well. So our next project that we have going on is called an out of context project, and I'd like you to make sure that you view all the Panofsky lecture information and do the reflection first before you do this project, because I think it'll help give you a little bit of practice and get used to this idea of context and what context is all about. So if you go to the Google Cultural Institute, which Google is also called Google Arts and Culture, they kind of keep changing the name of it. But it's a really interesting site. You can browse through all kinds of stuff here. So they have kind of featured articles. You can go to, let's see, art movements, historical events, historical figures, places, artists. So you can search for a specific artist, for example. So let's say we look at Van Gogh. We can see that they have, over 200 items from his collection. You can go ahead and click on a work of art. It's going to tell you about it. One thing that's pretty cool too is you can go to the collection here. It will talk about this space, and if they still have it, let's see, maybe they've changed it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. If you go back to that home page of google.com/cultural institute, and it will take you to Google Arts and Culture here, that link that we had in our in Blackboard there. If you go all the way down to the bottom here, Explore with Street View, it's pretty neat. You can actually walk around some of these museums. So for example, here's the Guggenheim Museum in New York, and you can actually walk through the museum with their street view, which is actually a pretty cool thing to be able to do. And so you can go on the different floors and kind of, move around into the different spaces. And some of them have it, some of them don't. But there's a very large database of work here. You could also, for this, use the Met Museum site if you'd like. But you're going to select a work, again, here to research. It can be from any time period and any geographical location. And in a 2 to 3 page paper, you're going to complete the following. So you're going to briefly describe the context of the image. This would include any social, political, personal, or historical factors that went into its creation. This will require a bit of research. Be sure you select a work of art you can find ample research on. Again, this is us practicing this kind of thing. So this is basically doing Panofsky's intrinsic level here. In the first part of this assignment. Number 2, I want you to describe how viewing your chosen work through the Google Art project may change the way we interact with and understand the image. So seeing it virtually rather than physically being there. Is the experience better? Is it worse? One thing that is pretty neat that you can do on this website is you can zoom in, and if you go back, it will show you. So you click on this little magnifying glass here, and you can see the zoom. You can see this little window here, and you can actually zoom really, really close in and see all the brush strokes and details of the work and kind of move around a painting. So it's kind of a cool thing that you can do. So I want you to compare this experience of seeing it virtually rather than being there. And again, is this experience better or worse or just different? So this is, going to take some critical thinking there. And number 3, now I want you to use your imagination. This is the fun part of the assignment. Take your work of art out of context and place it somewhere else. So you've already looked at the context of the image. You've looked at how we can view it in this digital context. You've thought about where it is in the real world, in the museum space that it might be located in. And now you're going to move it. For example, how would a Renaissance audience react to seeing a Picasso? What if Michelangelo's David was presented at the circus? Describe how changing the context of the artwork could change the way we understand it. So be creative and have fun here. This paper, please include a title page. We're formatting these as, proper academic assignments here, formally written papers. Either MLA or APA style guides is fine with me. This will be submitted through SafeAssign, so it will be scanned for plagiarism. Make sure you're sourcing any research that you've done. And have fun with that one. And then we've got our quiz going on. So those 3 items do your quiz, your out of context project, and your reflection. So walking through Panofsky. And then this is, again, just enrichment material. There's no questions that you have to complete for this Artist of the Week this week. We've got some lecture material and some reading. Any questions about this? Any questions about grades thus far? Let me know. Again, be looking for those formal analysis papers to be back to you by Friday, and have a great week.